Hey, what's up guys? More Crozier here, your online quarterback coach, going to be able to help you out with your throwing mechanics, being able to increase your throwing velocity. There's a couple concepts we're going to be going over today that I think are going to be really helpful when it comes to just improving your ability to utilize the upper body to be able to throw the ball further. We'll hop right into it here. The first one, and this is something we've been watching a lot with like Jalen Hurts and what he does when he's throwing like a deeper pass, but even when he threw at the combine, you could see he does like this coil action. This is something that I think a lot of people are talking about. So we're going to go more in depth into the coil. And then I recently did a John Elway breakdown, and one of the things he did really well is just had a ton of rotation in the spine to help make it so then I think he can get that elbow through and just really be able to generate a lot of speed through the arm, which is an important concept I think to understand when it comes to increasing your throwing velocity. So first thing I want to talk about is just going to be the coil. The big thing with the coil is it's really just another way of being able to help create more hip and shoulder separation. So when we're throwing the ball, we want to be able to, best that we can, really get those hips going in a way that we're going towards the target. But as that's happening, we also want to be able to kind of simultaneously keep that front shoulder closed. That's where like that whole kind of DAC drill comes into play, where we're stepping and kind of rotating through here and making it so as my hips are going forward, I'm kind of bringing my front shoulder back to make it so, again, I'm creating that rotation within the core. And so what we see with Jalen Hurts, what he does is he does a really big kind of emphasis on that coil and really turning that front shoulder all the way back. But the thing about that is we don't want to end up getting this ball too much behind our body, right? So we don't want to end up with that nose of the football all the way back. As we're creating that coil, we want to still kind of keep that nose of the football facing straight ahead. You can be down here, but again, we don't want to end up going back here. I think that's an important thing to consider when it comes to adding that coil into it. And I would really play with being able to get a good amount of pushback with that front shoulder. Some people will actually actively push the ball back to make it so then you can get that front shoulder closed. And then another thing to be able to consider with that is we want to be able to, one, I think take a pretty substantial stride, right? This is something that I think there may be people that have a different opinion than I do, but I think a longer stride helps because it helps with generating that momentum. But either way, when we're taking that initial step, we need to get that foot down so then we can rotate, okay? So it doesn't help with that coil in that upper half if we're not getting that front foot down, because now we don't have the opportunity to create the rotation out of the lower half. So we want to get that front foot down and coil simultaneously so then I can get that to start happening, right? Then once that can start happening, now we get into that second part, which is going to be really fast spine rotation. And this is something that we do within the training as well. So this is why I think it's important to be able to understand that, like, when it comes to developing as a quarterback, it's not just throwing the football, it's what are you doing to help train your body to make it so you could better utilize some of those muscles. And, you know, using like a med ball, it could help with being able to create rotation. There's a lot of different things you can do with bands to make it so you can generate more rotation. It's not something that's like super complicated, but it is stuff that you could do that will help make it so then when you throw, it'll just be that much more effective. But so we're getting into getting that foot down, we're coiling here, and then from this position, we really want to be able to fire through with that front arm, but as we're firing through, we still have to be quick with the wrist. So what happens here is people will start to get a lot of rotation happening within the spine, but will not be able to control it, and that's what makes it so then we get way out to the side here, or they'll end up throwing the ball and the ball will just be in like this position and it'll be inaccurate. And then what you do to be able to solve that inaccuracy problem is you have to kind of slow down and try to have to aim the ball a little bit more, so then you have more control. The issue is now you obviously don't have as much power behind the throw. So we have to be aware of just that wrist. I have a ton of videos I've done with the wrist and being able to get that to be correct, but we want to be very specific and have a great understanding of how to get that wrist into the right position as I'm also firing and rotating here within my spine. So here I'm getting my foot down and I'm working on the coil first, not getting this back, just working on getting this foot down, coiling this up. And then from here, I would just go here first, boom, right? I'm here and I'm rotating, right? So I can get that action, and it feels good with that coil because now you can just get right to here with that front arm. I don't have to get way off to the side. I can kind of pull back and through, and as I'm pulling back and through, I'm kind of dropping that front shoulder as I'm coming up over the top, as I'm throwing the ball, and that feels really good But again, you have to be able to control that spine rotation first to make it so the spine rotation and the wrist position, so then when you throw the ball, it ends up all working out in a pretty symmetrical way, or a way that actually makes sense for you. This is going to be a little bit different for me than it is for, you know, somebody else. I'm about 6 foot, about 190, 195. And so some people are going to be a little bit different based off of that. Another thing just to add before I go and do a couple of examples, when we are creating this spine rotation, we still, and really when you're doing anything with any type of velocity, any type of weight, any type of resistance, make sure that core's on. I see a lot of people that go and they'll be flaring out like this. This is not having a core on, and this is going to make it hard to finish through because you're going to end up being too rotational here, where we want to again be able to kind of come down on the ball a bit, and that's almost like a kind of crunch. You have to use your abs to be able to really generate that rotation through the spine. You're not going to be able to get that same rotation if we're back or if our rib cage is flared. You can't access your core the same way as when we have that the abs nice and engaged. So make sure we keep those abs engaged. And I'll go through a couple of examples here.